In this episode, Duncan interviews travel consultant Josephine Hauser about evolving landscape of travel, particularly in the context of luxury vacations and the impact of COVID-19. They discuss trends such as revenge travel, popular destinations, and unique preferences of retirees when it comes to travel. Josephine shares her insights on immersion vacations and the importance of budgeting for travel, providing valuable advice for those planning their next getaway. Welcome to the Retirement Spy. Today we are recording from Longview Farms, and as is our goal and our mission is to help you plan for retirement so you can live your best retirement ever in your golden years. Today we're excited. We're joined by Josephine Hauser, who is a travel consultant, and in full disclosure, one of my four beautiful nieces, and she's living up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Josephine, tell us about your travel consultant platform, who you work for.
So I am a travel advisor for Lux Destinations. That is a division of 101 Vacations, which is we're a boutique travel firm out of Huntersville, North Carolina. We have probably 25 agents involved, and we've been around since 2017. I was the second travel agent to sign on with my first travel agent when she went out on her own and started her own company.
What a fun time. And so when I hear luxe, I'm thinking luxury. Do you have a specific niche as opposed to booking a Disney cruise as an example? Do you have a niche that you provide for your clients that's unique?
We do. I specifically specialize in luxury European vacations, whether it be on a luxury cruise line or traveling through private transfer across the countries in Europe, and also going more international luxury Caribbean islands. My clients are now starting to get into more Asia travel, Africa, South America, as they've expanded their horizons.
That's exciting. That really is. So I've got to address this because this is so cool. I call it post-COVID travel. Or when COVID was over, we found something, at least down here in Atlanta, called revenge travel. Everybody in the world was looking to get out and see all the places that they missed while they were locked up during COVID. What is revenge travel? How did it impact your business? Is it still kind of going on?
It is a little bit. During COVID, of course, travel completely stopped. However, right after when it started opening back up, there were regulations everywhere. You had to do COVID tests. And at that point, though, people had been cooped up and they just did not care. And in addition to that, resorts had been shut down, airlines virtually shut down. All of these places were not making money. So they were coming out with great deals right out of COVID. And that's when people said, okay, I've been cooped up. This has been miserable. And there are all these great deals. I might as well go to the places I've always wanted to go, because who knows if this could happen again.
Yeah,
So yes,
no question.
people still want to travel. However, the deals aren't always there anymore. And then people get frustrated. Well, what about those deals right after? And that just doesn't exist as much anymore right now.
Tell me about it. We're headed to the Mediterranean in September, and the cruise deal that I found 3 years ago isn't exactly the same deal that we had before.
Oh, it is. It is absolutely not. We rented a house in Turks and Caicos in 2021, and we checked it just for giggles a couple of weeks ago. And let me tell you, when it goes from 2,700 a night to now it's going for upwards of 7,000 a night.
That's just ridiculous.
It is, because
ridiculous.
it's supply and demand. Everybody wants to travel. These places can raise the prices, and there are still people that are going to pay it right now. So why not?
So when travel opened back up after COVID, and I know I'm dating myself, but it seems like COVID was yesterday. Where did everybody want to go? Were there a few spots that everybody says, this is where I want to be? And it varied, I'm sure, between retirees to families and everything else. But what did you see?
At that point, it was a lot of Caribbean, not as much wanting to go as far as Europe or other continents, so to speak, but quick flights, because people were still nervous about airports. They were willing to put on a mask for a couple hours, but they didn't really want to wear a mask overseas. So it was a lot of Caribbean at that point.
You know, plus, if I remember, every country had different protocols. So it may be that you're going to visit the Caribbean because you know exactly how you can get in and get out. You knew the testing rules. It's pretty easy, as opposed to other countries that are kind of wishy-washy, or maybe they were just too rigid. You're like, okay, wait a minute. I don't want to go
It
there.
was the amount of times you would have to test before you left, when you were over there, and then if you were in Europe and heading to different countries in Europe, you might have to test. For example, I went on a cruise in Eastern Europe in 2021, and we had to test at some different, when we landed at different ports in Eastern Europe, because each country had a different requirement to enter that country at that point. And that's a lot to think about.
It's interesting. We're empty nesters now, but I look at my friends who still have kids. And the question I'm about to ask you is, where's the hot spot this year? It seems to me, at least in Atlanta, it starts with spring break, and that defines what the hot spot is. It seems like every school is going to Costa Rica, or every school is going to Croatia, it starts with spring break and then the summer. And I feel like I'm two hip travel vacations behind, because it seems like Croatia's been popular and we haven't been to Croatia yet. What's the hot spot this year? Where does everybody want to go?
So this year, in most years, I would say Italy. However, this year being the Jubilee, we as travel agents kind of convince people not to go there because of the huge amounts of crowd.
Yes.
So now people this summer have been doing London or Paris and the Greek islands if they want to go, Greece and Italy, they're near each other. So I've been trying to convince people, try Greece this year, maybe Italy next year or the year after, to kind of avoid some of the crowds that are descending onto Italy and specifically Rome at this point.
Explain Jubilee for our non-Catholic friends who may be listening today.
Well, I'm not Catholic, but
well, I'm just in general. The Jubilee is a Catholic thing.
Yes, no, I know it's a Catholic thing. I don't know all the details, but I know Catholics from around the world are going to Italy. I'm not quite sure.
It's a
all the details.
For what little I know as a Catholic, it is a celebration from the Catholic Church. And to your point, if you're wanting to travel in the Jubilee year, Rome is a great place to be. So you're right. But even beyond that, knowing what I know about my European friends, Europeans travel a little differently on holiday than those in the United States. Our travel time starts probably in May, because kids get out early in May and can go all the way through Labor Day. Europeans, and we may do weekends, we may do a week, we may do 2 weeks. When Europeans travel, how do they travel differently than people in the United States?
Well, first of all, they tend to stay gone longer.
Yeah, holiday.
Instead of doing small, various small trips, maybe over the summer, maybe you go to the beach, maybe you do a Europe trip, maybe you see family. Over there, they leave and they stay gone for weeks at a time. They'll go for a month. So that's the big difference, I would say. They don't do as many small trips as they do larger trips and stay gone for a longer period of time.
And their holiday usually starts later. I think
later in June, yes.
Let's get out in June. So true holiday for a European may be July or August. And when I say true holidays, you're right. They'll go for a month at a time. I remember in phase one, we refer to retirement as phase two at the retirement spot. In my phase one life, as I was doing business with my European friends, and I would call to say, hey, we have a real estate transaction and funding needs. They were like, well, he's on holiday. He'll be back in August. And you're like, what do you mean he's on holiday? He'll be back in August. The United States mindset versus a European. But back to our travel, when you're making plans with you and all your services, if you really want to avoid the crowds, the Europeans are wonderful travelers, but July and August is a tough place to be. Europe is a tough place to be in July and August because of how they vacation.
Yes, and depending on where the heat, it's oppressive on the Amalfi Coast, I would say, if you try to go in July or August, and that, so if you can go at other points in time, which as retirees, you're not stuck to a kid's school schedule, which is the beauty of it. You can go to the Amalfi Coast, for example, in May, before I would say a lot of the US is out. Colleges are out, not as much high school yet. Or you can push it and go in September, mid to late September, when the weather is still beautiful, but you don't have the crowds that you have from America, at least, in some of those hot spots.
That's absolutely right. The sad part about it is a lot of retirees want to take the grandkids or take their kids with them.
Yes.
Based on U.S. schools. So you may be having a wonderful grandparent who says, hey, let's go to the Amalfi Coast. And you'll say, hey, the kids have got to go back to school, August the 7th. And they're like, well, that's not ideal for us. But so if you're traveling as a retiree, you've got some good parameters around retirement now, which is a great thing.
Yes.
Tell me about areas of appeal. Our podcast is really designed to help our financially independent retirees kind of enjoy life. And I've heard the expression about the go-go 60s, meaning when you're in your 60s, you want to go travel, go hard, so to speak, the slow 80s and the no-go 80s, which I will disagree with. Do you see any one type of travel or area that's most appealing to retirees?
I'm trying to think. The majority for me personally that I have had of retirees are ones that do want to take the grandkids and they do want to go do things. They want to take their children, they want to take the grandkids. And where is kind of all over the board, from if they want to go out west and do a Jackson Hole and a Yellowstone to experience that, to going to Europe, exploring some of the grandparents' favorite places if they've already been, and take the children and grandkids to experience what they've experienced. It's kind of what I am seeing.
It's interesting. One of the etched memories I had, we took our young son on a Disney cruise when he was age appropriate, and Disney recognized a grandmother who had been bringing her kids and grandkids on a Disney cruise for 10 years. It was her way to treat them. And I thought, okay, about the no-go 80s, I think as you get older, cruises become more appealing for lots of different reasons. You can see several ports of calls without ever having to unpack your bags, and it makes it
Right.
easy. But I thought, what a great etched memory if I had the ability to pick a cruise and just say, all right, all the kids, grandkids, we're going to do it, and we're going to go for a week, and here's what grandma or granddad are going to do for you. I thought that was just so fascinating.
Well, that's another great option too, because there are the different excursions at different ports. But if grandparents are feeling tired that day, the parents can get off. The grandparents can have a rest day, stay on the cruise ship while everybody else leaves, and then come back and have dinner.
I can
And
easily
then
see that
there's
in our
balance.
family. And you know who I'm talking about. It's like, oh, you guys have fun today. We're going to stay on the boat and enjoy ourselves, and it'll be the best part of their day, man.
Yes,
Not that they
exactly.
don't love the kids and the grandkids. They just,
Everybody needs a break.
they've got their own pace, which is always a good thing. And I think that's what a wonderful kind of an etched memory of for our audience here. If you think along those lines, what a better experience that you can give for your family than to do a cruise or a vacation where you can bring everybody along and to make it special, which I think is
Yes.
wonderful. So you and I have talked about a concept that I'd love for you to elaborate on, and it's not a well-used term, but I call it a different vacation. I call it an immersion vacation. And
Mhm.
somebody approached me with this idea of the immersion vacation as it's not your weekend or a week down to the beach that you're used to. What you're doing with an immersion vacation is you're picking a place you want to go and immerse yourself. Let's say 30 days, 60 days. A friend of mine's doing 6 months in Ireland because he's Irish
Oh,
heritage and he wants to explore his history. But the idea is I really want to immerse myself in the Santa Fe culture and study Georgia O'Keeffe, and I'm going to go there for a month
mhm.
and really be a part of that culture. Is this something that's trendy? Is it something I've just heard isolated? Tell me what your thoughts on an immersion vacation is and how you even begin to plan something like that.
So, immersion vacations, they do tend to be on the longer side. However, you can do them shorter. You just need to know that if you're going to a country, for example, say you want to go somewhere in South America or you want to go to Costa Rica, know that you're going to be going there. You're not going to be going to multiple spots. You're
Yeah.
going to probably pick one or two places. You're not going to be, switching hotels. You're not going to be even usually staying in hotels. You're going to find homes, guest houses, smaller places to stay. And
Mhm.
then you will completely immerse yourself in the culture, learning all about, the roots and everything about the country and the people. You'll be learning how to cook, maybe arts and crafts. If you have kids, that would be fun. So different from the retirees. But if you did it, with kids, grandkids, you're going to be really just doing what those people do every day on your vacation. We haven't seen a ton of it with our agency right now. You definitely get clients that say, I want to go here and I want to experience some of the culture, but I want to stay in still a very nice hotel, which isn't to say that you can't still go and do the hikes and take the cooking classes and immerse yourself you know, in a way. It's just not the complete immersion vacation. For example, which you were talking about your friend going for 6 months to Ireland. Now, 6 months, you can still move around quite a bit and still immerse yourself, I would say. for
Yeah, and
6
he's
months,
doing every 30 days, literally starts at Dublin
moving to a
30
different
days.
location.
He's the McClatchy clan or whatever he's
Mhm.
doing. And I'm sure there's a lot of drinking involved too. So that's a fun part of what he's doing. It's interesting because it's not an immersion vacation, but there's a huge recommendation for those retirees who want to move. And we see a lot of people, I want to say probably more in the Midwest or North, if they retire, they move to go somewhere. Let's just say Florida as an example. And the
Mhm.
best retirement advice I've ever heard is before you just pick up and leave because all your friends are going to Florida, go there for a month. Not an immersion vacation as much as it is go experience where it is you think you want to retire and spend your golden years before you do that. And I give a great example. There's a term called halfbacks that I learned about in the mountains of North Carolina. There's a huge retirement community from Florida. And they
Mhm.
started as New Englanders or Canadians who went to Florida and got there and they said, holy moly, this place is hot. I don't want to be here 12 months out of the year. And so they went halfway back, meaning the North Carolina mountains, where they spend their summers. So New England to Florida, Canada to Florida. Oh my gosh, it's too hot. I need to go halfway back up mountains of North Carolina for cool summers. And that came about. So looking at where you may want to spend 12 months out of the year, if you're going to move, you need to put some time to think about that first.
For sure. I can see that. I'd rather be in the mountains than in Florida.
Well, the beach is what we did when we were young kids getting suntans way back when. And, it just felt better to be on the beach being hot. It didn't bother you. As you get older, you're like, I don't really like being hot.
Yeah.
It's no fun. I'd rather be in the mountains and enjoying sweater weather, even in the summer, which is a wonderful thing. Question on budgets.
Yes.
And this is a general question, how to budget for a vacation. You have airfares, you have hotels, you have excursions. We're booking something in Spain right now. And it's interesting when you do travel in Europe, you don't just get a travel guide, you have a driver and you have a travel guide. You don't just have somebody who drives and gives you a guide. You have two people usually who are running your day. Tell me about how to budget for vacations, if there's some rules of thumb.
So, number one, this kind of goes back to when you're booking a vacation. The best things you can do to help whoever your travel agent is number one, know where, know when, and have a budget. The budget that can skew a relationship between a client and a travel advisor like no other, because what can happen is people say they don't have a budget. And the travel agent plans this vacation. All of a sudden, you send them the itinerary and they have a budget now. So have a budget. Now, I have clients that will find flights because flights, as we all know, can be very, very expensive these days. You never know what you're going to get.
That's right.
Flights are all over the place. So I will have clients that will book the flight, then come to me and say, I have this flight booked. Can you plan the trip? And then
That's actually
I'll
good for
have
you
the
because they
opposite.
bookend your travel. Like, here's when we have to be there. Here's when we're leaving.
Mhm.
You have it bookend for you.
Yes. With flights are tricky. So this is where you either have the flights booked or, a lot of people now use airline miles. They want to get the best bang for their buck with their airline miles.
Well, you spend all of
There's
phase one working your butt off for all those miles and you want to use them
Right.
because they're
Yes,
sitting
or
there
you've
and then
traveled
maybe.
for work a lot and you've banked a lot of points, and that's a great way to do it. And then you decide where you go. Where can you get the most bang for your buck? I would say just start there for most clients, because I have planned trips and then people want to book the flights themselves, which is fine. And then they see how much a flight costs, and that's the end of it as well. So start with your budget for your flights, and then we can make the other things fit into that realistically. We can find hotels, we can find great excursions. If you're on a smaller budget, maybe not as many private tours, maybe more small group tours, not large group, but small group. Maybe you're taking a train between countries in Europe instead of flying. You can make that work if you start with a budget around your airline, and then we can make other things work into it. The airline, unless you're willing to do multiple stops, the price is going to be pretty much what the price is, unless you're using points. So that's the best advice I can give. Just have that budget for your travel advisor.
So this is a great tip that helps you and helps your clients. We went to Machu Picchu this past spring and we went through back roads and we were having an episode. And weeks on Backroads. But Backroads sets up their travel excursions with a kind of a low, medium, and high hotel budget or level of travel. And it's a wonderful way to frame up what your expectations on travel are. Not everybody's going to be a five-star type person wanting five-star type accommodations. But what I liked about Backroads is they kind of put it together to say, okay, based on your hotel and dining needs, let's put in one of three categories and we're going to price accordingly. And then
Mhm.
people can say, you know what, I'm a hot dog at lunch kind of guy, and that's kind of budget I want to be. And I'm just looking for a place to put my head after a great day, as opposed to, hey, you know what? I want to experience dining culture of the community. I want something important. I want a massage at the end of the day. And if you frame it up like that, I would imagine as a travel consultant, you say, okay, let's take a look at those three tiers, and then let's put a budget together according to how you want to travel.
Yes, and I always ask my clients, what is your favorite hotel you've ever stayed in?
Yes.
You know? And so then that really gives you, if somebody's first response is, "Oh, I don't even know, I don't care," you know, that's just not what's important to them. Some people, the hotel's not important, but all of the activities are really good. They're like, "I'll stay in a 3 to 4-star hotel, but I want all the private tours. I want, private transportation. I don't care where I lay my head. I want to spend most of my money on my experiences because that's what matters to me." So,
Let me jump into this because I think this is important. And I think this is where a travel consultant's value comes in. In younger days, I love to see Rome or Paris on my own, just look at the books and go travel. But when you get older, time is important and the value of a good guide cannot be underestimated. The guides that we've had get you to the front of the line. They get you the back doors of the places and the Vaticans and the Eiffel Towers and places that you would not get into, and they know everybody there. So if you need access to a place, a good guide is worth weight in gold. But give me your thoughts on that.
absolutely. I completely agree. If you have a great guide, they will do all of the things that you just said. They will book things, they will do things even beyond what you think you would want to do because they're local. They know the people. They've been doing this for years. They live it every day. They've gotten to know the people. When we took the kids to Italy, we had a private guide that lived in Florence, but she would meet us wherever we went and she would know everybody. We go to the Duomo, she would wave to them, they'd let us in. She took us to the Vatican. We Additionally, when we went with work, we went to Budapest and we had the same kind of experience. We had an amazing local guide over there that did the same thing for our group. And it just is that different level of it almost helps you immerse yourself more in the vacation when you have a guide that is telling you the little stories about the little things they know that you can't find right off of Google or going around by yourself. So, really, the ultimate vacation, I would say, would be a good mix of great private guides and exploring on your own,
Yes.
doing the other little things that you want to do on your own, but having those days with the guides that really are invaluable.
I never understood the idea of a guide's need for a driver. I'm ADD, so the ability to drive and talk at the same time is natural for me.
Mhm.
But two things. One, European roads, and I'm thinking of Amalfi Coast, is a frightening place. You don't want anybody giving you a tour who's not absolutely focused on the tour, and you don't want anybody driving on the Amalfi Coast who's not absolutely focused on keeping
On
you
the
from
road.
going over the cliff.
Yes.
But here's a great point to take a look at. What I really appreciate if we did this, what I'd call the American way, where you have a guide and a driver.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about Rome. If you go to the Vatican, you're going to park somewhere that's not anywhere close to where you're touring. And you've been touring all day long. At the end of the day, it is wonderful not to have to go walk a mile to find your car, but your driver pulls up right at the exit and he's right there picking
Yes.
you up. And it's like, oh my God, my dog's hurt, my feet hurt, and this is just a
Mhm.
luxury. So the European way of doing this with a driver and a guide is the rage. And I highly recommend it.
Yes, I agree completely.
Tell me about travel insurance. What's the inside scoop? I can't tell you how many times people are pushing me to buy travel insurance, and travel insurance is not cheap. Tell me your professional opinion of the pros and cons of travel insurance. And if you do buy travel insurance, are you really covered for what it says, or are you going to get ripped off?
Well, with travel insurance, generally there are different options. You'll get three different categories as to what they cover. We usually We work with a specific travel insurance company. We don't always recommend you just booking it through whoever your vacation is booked through. We usually do that separately with a company that we highly trust and has been really amazing with clients that have had issues come up. We saw you would have an occasional client want travel insurance before COVID. But since COVID, that is when we push it more because we know what happened. When COVID happened, clients were out money. We would spend hours on the phone, all of our agents, trying to get travel credits back from hotels, from various excursion companies, trying to get money back during COVID for things that if they didn't have travel insurance, which it wasn't pushed as much pre-COVID. And I think it really woke a lot of people up that this is important. You never know if it's going to happen again. You don't know what's happening in the world from day to day. And that travel insurance just gives you somewhat of a peace of mind. So there are always different categories of what can be included in travel insurance, a cancel for any reason. You can just include your hotel and your excursions if you want to book the travel insurance through the airline as well, or you can put it all together in one package.
I think about flight delays. When we take a cruise, we like to get into the port of call a day or two ahead of time, just as a good rule of
Yes.
thumb. But if your flight gets canceled and your cruise ship leaves, you can catch up with your cruise ship, I guess, at the next port of call, but it's not convenient and it's not a lot of fun. And flights get
Yes.
canceled all the time. Or they get
Right.
relocated. Sorry, 24 hours in Tel Aviv was a nightmare for me. I didn't
Well,
enjoy
you
that.
saying that though, we suggest that to all our clients, of course, to try to get there a couple days early. And even if it's not just, for example, a flight delay, when I went to Eastern Europe and flew into Romania, my bag didn't make it. And I knew luckily, I wasn't getting on the cruise ship that day, or else I wouldn't have had a bag for the 2 weeks I was gone. However, so I was able to wait for my bags. They came before the cruise took off the next afternoon, thank goodness. So you just proved our point. We always tell clients to do that and to get there a day or two early.
Thank God for my wonderful spouse who's such a great planner. We always pack when we travel your essentials in case your bags get
Yes.
lost. It's the simple things like for me, it's contact lenses, glasses, things
Mhm.
that I'll probably put on and off on a plane overnight anyhow, but even a change of clothes. And for ladies, things that are essential because if you lose your bag, I can get by a day or two and I'm fine.
Right.
American Express will carry the rest. Usually you'll find your bags will eventually show up a few days later. They just may be on the next flight.
They just might not make it to your cruise.
You know what? That's what American Express is for. This is not advertised by American Express. There's no compensation for American Express. You hear what I'm saying? Question, and I'm going to bust a friend of mine named Tori. You know who you are, Tori. There are flight algorithms. And when you're going to try to book a flight, there are better times to book than others. A few questions. When you're trying to book a flight, when's the best time to do it? Do I want to stay off of my favorite airline website because it's watching what I do miraculously? And as my friend Tori, who's in charge of the algorithms for a large airline that we use all the time, it is a game. They are watching you, and the flight price will change based on what you're doing. How do you walk through that? Do you have any advice on this?
Private browser.
There you
Always
go.
go to a private browser on your computer or phone. Do not go into your app. We have found over the years, of course, I say this, it'll change, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays tend to be good days to book. Don't book on the weekend.
That's been confirmed by Tori, the algorithm master
Okay.
for blank
Yeah.
airline.
Okay. Don't book on the weekends because that's when they expect people. You're with family. You're like, oh, okay, let's do this. Still wait till Tuesday or Wednesday. 6 months out is if you have that time is a good time to book. But I also use the Going website and then through Google Flights. Going, it used to be Scott's Cheap Flights. And I get emails when there's deals going on. And then you just jump on that, go to Google Flights. And that's when I've found some of the best deals for myself and for clients.
That's a great piece
So
of
you can
advice.
still go book in the airline. You're not having to book through a third party, which I like because booking through a third party with airlines makes myself a little nervous, but that's a good way to see what the prices are. And they'll say, it'll send you something and it'll say flights from Charlotte to Turks and Caicos for August through October. And then you go plug that in and you'll see on Google Flights some different dates and it'll be lit up when the flights are the cheapest.
Yes. I had the next question. The next question has already been asked. I was talking about guides. I'm going down my teleprompter to go to some other things here. Talk about bucket list travel, which is popular with our phase 2 crowd. Tell us you personally what your number one bucket list is. Where do you want to go? It's in the top of your mind right now.
I think you know, but I'll tell you again,
This is
Africa.
for our audience.
Yes, Africa it is. And we're going next summer, hopefully. I just think I love animals. My kids love animals. It's definitely somewhere we've never been, something we've never experienced. And the idea of staying in a beautiful safari lodge and going on these drives to see beautiful animals, eating delicious meals. I don't know, that's the ultimate for me. And I'm finding it the ultimate for a lot of long-term clients that I've had. It's kind of on their list. I kind of keep a running tally of where they've told me they want to go eventually. And that is pretty much one of the top bucket list spots for most clients, I would say right now.
Where has been your best place you've traveled so far in your young life and what made it special? And don't say Polly's Island.
I would, my goodness.
This is the retirement spy spoofing and stumping the guest.
I know.
That was rude. If you weren't my niece, I would never have done this to you.
No, that's okay. I would say Italy still. I've been twice and I'm going a third time in the fall. And I've experienced different parts of Italy, the big cities. The big cities aren't, I love Florence. The bigger,
all women love Florence.
all women love Florence. Rome, I've done. I don't need to do it again. But Tuscany, the Italian Riviera, those areas, I feel like are places I could go back over and over again, and I don't think I would ever tire of it. It's just beautiful. The people are amazing. The food is delicious. Everything is beautiful. I don't know. I could just go there over and over again. I love it.
Italy is so popular. 2 places we have not been to. One is Lake Como. I want to do that. The surprising place we've been, I want to spend more time on the Amalfi Coast. Assisi was surprising because we had gone to Rome. Rome is so huge. It's so old. It's vast. It's like an old New York. You get worn out when you're there because it's so busy. And the next day we went to Assisi, which is this wonderful hilltop countryside village that's just beautiful. And it was so relaxing up there. But that's what my memory of Italy was. But what a great bucket list place to go to. Niche. Tell me, if you were to quantify your business, and I know you do luxury travel, but is there a special location that you're really experienced in? Or tell me what your niche is. So when somebody says, and we're going to give you your information of Josephine Hauser at the end, we're going to tell them where to go to visit you. You'll say, if you're thinking of me, call me as it relates to XYZ.
European travel. That's where it is right now. And my clients that started off with me, I would say back in 2017 when I started, and I started just doing Disney World and theme parks. And I've gotten out of doing that, and I've evolved with these families that now want to take their children on these amazing experiences. As the kids have gotten older, they're easier to travel with. Long flights are okay. So I feel like that is what I spend the majority of my time on with my clients is European travel to any different country in Europe. I mean, whether it's, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, all over.
This may be outside of your expertise, and say so if it is. When I think of multi-generational travel plans, a lot of our retirees do have money and they want to embrace the family. As opposed to leaving things in their will, they want to create excursions for their family to enjoy together. And I mentioned cruises earlier, and that seems like low-hanging fruit. Do you have any specific ideas as it relates to multi-generational travel, whether simply going down to the beach house or doing a cruise, or things that might be considerations for our podcast listeners?
Yes. So I can speak to this if I can speak from personal experience. We took our in-laws to Ireland 2 summers ago. In Ireland, it was great for a multitude of reasons. The weather, it's not super hot. So older people are comfortable, kids are comfortable, you're comfortable. It's a small country, so you can see a lot of it. If you are willing to drive around over there, you can see a lot of it. It's not so expansive that you feel like you'll never make it through. But it allowed us to do a lot of family experiences. We went to a farm where they made cheese. We ate a beautiful meal with the family that owned the farm. We all tried our hand at falconry, fly fishing. And Alan's parents were allowed to explore some of the smaller cities when we would choose to go do hikes, but they got to see the Cliffs of Moher for the first time, which was great. Sounds like it'd be hard to get up. Luckily, they have little golf carts. For the older people, they'll take them up to the top and we could hike up to it. So it was a really great place for all of us to be able to enjoy, from somebody in their 70s to Holland's was, I believe, around 10 or 11. Everybody enjoyed it because there were little experiences for everybody along the way.
That's wonderful. Oh, what a great trip. We're about to wrap up our Retirement Spy episode for the day. Tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you if they want to do their travel plans.
Absolutely. You can email me at Josephine at 101-vacations.com, or you can text me, call me.
That's wonderful. Always so much more to talk about. Josephine, thank you so much for being with us today on the Retirement Spy. We look forward to hopefully having you on again after your African excursion, and you can tell us more about what's going on there.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great day.